Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope we're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. This video today, I ask a question. Do you know how to jump correctly in Street Fighter 6? Now I know you know how to jump, but do you know about some of the things you should look out for whilst you're in the air in Street Fighter 6? In this video, I'll demonstrate two examples of where you need to think about what's going on the ground whilst you're in a jump situation. So this recording, you can see right now, the dummy Ken is doing a cross-up light kick and it's whiffing. This is scenario one, and this is what I want you to think about. When you jump, if the opponent has moved out of the way where your jump attack will not connect, or if you've misspaced it, you've jumped and the angle's not right, you're going to whiff entirely, you need to think about not pressing anything in the air. If your attack's going to whiff, there's no benefit of pressing the attack button whilst you're in the air. There are some situations where it may work out, but generally it won't net you anything. But that's not the issue. You can see I've not got punish counter set on. You saw the jab was not punish counter. But watch what happens when the dummy Ken whiffs and I press a jab on the landing frames. I get a punish counter. And that's why you don't want to press a button. If the dummy Ken was to do an empty jump, there'd be no punish counter state in that situation. But because he's whiffing an attack, like most things in Street Fighter 6, when you whiff, you're in punish counter state. So let's try and get a full combo punish here on this. So this is tip number one. Gauge what's going on the ground, and if you think you're going to whiff, do not press a button because of the risk of punish counter on your whiffed jumping attack. So this second situation, it sounds quite complicated, but it's actually very simple what I'm advising you to do. So where you have done something, if you're the person on defense and you've done something on the ground and the opponent's airborne, you need to gauge whether you're going to recover in time or not to then perform an action whilst the opponent's still airborne. Now, normally in this situation, this is what I do, and a lot of strong players do, is they will do a DP after they've whiffed. So let me show you this scenario now. The dummy is going to do a run DP, going to whiff medium punch and do neutral jump. This is a knockdown pressure sequence. If I do an immediate throw, that was a late throw. If I do an immediate throw, I'm not in punish counter state, which means I recovered. And that means after I recover, can input a dragon punch to anti-air the jump. Now that does take awareness, skill, muscle memory. It is quite difficult to do that, but it is very possible to do that if you have the knowledge of how, and obviously the frame advantage. I'm aware in that situation that recovering time, so I'm going for the DP. What happens if I do a delayed throw? I get punish countered, so I do not recover in time there to do anything. I'm going to get hit. What happens if I do an immediate throw and I try to use a regular anti-air button like crouch heavy punch? I can't do it. And the reason I can't do it is because I don't have the amount of time for that heavy punch to connect. It's not invincible. It's not fast. That heavy punch is still stuffing me. So in all the Street Fighter games, that situation meant only if you had a fast invincible DP or a fast invincible reversal as an anti-air option could you recover and do something after the recovery whilst the opponent's in the air. But in Street Fighter 6 it's very different. There's a common habit in this game where people will tap parry. So where they know they're going to recover, or they feel they're going to recover whilst you're airborne, the habit is they whiff and they tap parry behind it. That is a common thing across the whole cast in terms of how to deal with these jump scenarios. My proposal of what you need to do is very simple. So let's watch this sequence again and let's see what happens when I tap the parry. See what happened? So I've simulated that the dummy Ken has done the neutral jump. They've done the frame kill, the stand medium punch. They've done the neutral jump. And because the dummy Ken saw that I recovered from the throw very fast, they opted not to press whilst they're in the air, and that's because of the parry, punishing the parry. A lot of people will tap parry after they recover from a whiff normal, a whiff throw, if you are airborne. So with the perspective of being the dummy Ken, you want to watch what the opponent is doing on the ground. If you put yourself in the air, it can be this scenario where I have set up a shimmy, they've whiffed throw. It could be even where the opponent's thrown a fireball but you've jumped over the fireball at around the same time, if they're going to recover from the fireball whilst you're still airborne, you have to think, if they're going to recover, do I want to risk pressing a button because of the parry? Again, it's an awareness type thing whilst you're airborne. If you jump and you can see they're in recovery frames of their action, the throw, the fireball, the normal they've used, then by all means press the button to get the punish counter jumping attack. But if you think they're going to recover, do not press and look for the parry and just throw it on reaction. React to what's going on the ground, make a decision whilst you're still airborne, then again react to what happens once you land on the floor. It's a really simple concept. Both of these scenarios I've just shown in this video, but it's quite significant in this game. And it's weird because in older fighting games, older Street Fighter games, you wouldn't think this way. You wouldn't think so much about what you're doing in the air, because in the older games, I would still press heavy punch regardless, because I'm thinking either my heavy punch is going to hit or they're going to anti-air DP me. There's no real difference there if I press the heavy punch, but because of the parry option, that's why you don't want to always press whilst you're in the air. Again, just in case you whiff the button and you get punish counted for it, and also because of them tapping parry whilst they're recovering from their action whilst you're in the air. So a bit of a mouthful, but I feel like that's a really good tip, 2 good tips for you with regards to decision making when you're in the air. Hope that helps. Any questions or any queries, always give me a shout, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.